The air is thick with the scent of metal and ozone, mingling with the faint earthy smell that seeps in from outside. The hum of machinery fills my ears as I walk through the narrow corridors of the stabilization unit. The walls lined with flickering lights and screens displaying data streams. Each step echoes off the cold metal floors, a constant reminder of how far we have ventured into this alien world. I stop at the control panel to check the status of the exterior systems. The monitor shows a steady flow of data, but I notice a slight fluctuation in one of the sensors near the perimeter fence. It taunts nothing majora, just another day here on Pandora, where every component needs constant attention. My eyes scan over the readings, and my fingers tap out commands to reroute power to that section. Outside, the vegetation presses against the barrier, like restless hands reaching for warmth. The trees are tall and dense, their leaves a vibrant green that seems almost unnatural in its intensity. But the Andra just another part of the terrain, no different from the rocks or the streams. I move on to the maintenance bay, where the repair drones await. The drones are sleek machines with articulated limbs designed to navigate the rugged landscape. They hum softly as I power them up, running diagnostic checks to ensure everything is functioning correctly before sending them out into the field. The screens in front of me display a map of the area marked with red dots, indicating damaged structures and yellow ones for potential hazards. I grab my Gira tool belt loaded with various supplies and head outside. The air feels cooler here, carrying with it a chill that prickles at the back of my neck. I step through the gate and onto the ground, the surface rough underfoot from small pebbles and uneven terrain. My boots crunch as I walk towards the first repair site. The ruins are scattered upon shattered remains of what once were structures meant to harness this planet's resources. The metal is twisted and rusted, the once sharp edges now dulled by time and exposure. There is a distinct smell, herein, a mix of decay and metallic tang from where the machinery has broken down. I begin my work methodically, assessing each piece of debris for damage. My hands move quickly as I tighten bolts, replace worn parts, and stabilize weakened supports. The drones follow closely behind me, their cameras recording every detail to be sent back to the central system for analysis and further instructions. The sun is high now, casting long shadows across the wreckage. Sweat trickles down my neck, despite the cool air, but it dawns a familiar sensation, part of the daily routine here on Pandora. I keep moving from one ruin to another, each site presenting its own set of challenges. The work is tedious and relentless, but thereon's a rhythm to ita, a steady pace that allows me to lose myself in the motions. As dusk approaches, I make my way back towards the unit. The sky shifts through shades of orange and purple, casting an eerie glow over everything. Inside, the hum of machinery remains constant, a comforting backdrop against which I can relax briefly before planning tomorrow's tasks. But for now, there are only this a day spent holding together what others have broken, knowing that tomorrow will bring more to mend. The maintenance checklist hangs in front of me, a list of items that need addressing. I begin with the air filter, its mesh clogged with dust and debris from the last few days. The filter is replaced quickly, my hands moving efficiently through the routine. Next, I turn to the power cells, their charge levels needing replenishment. The process is straightforward: connect, charge, disconnect, dial. Each step follows a well-worn path, and I move along it without hesitation. The environmental sensors need recalibration next. Data readings fluctuate unpredictably here, and keeping them in check is critical. I adjust the settings on the control panel, inputting new parameters to stabilize the fluctuations. The display flickers back into alignment, and I mark the adjustment complete on my checklist. There is a minor issue with the water purification system that needs attention. A valve is not sealing properly, causing leaks. I retrieve the necessary tools from the storage unit: wrenches, replacement parts, and begin disassembly. Each piece comes out in sequence, revealing the source of the problem. A worn-out gasket. I replace it swiftly, reassembling the system with precision. Later, there was a routine inspection of the structural integrity monitors. The readings are within acceptable limits, but any deviation requires immediate correction. I run diagnostic tests and review the data, ensuring all components are functioning as expected. Any anomalies are logged and addressed, maintaining the operational standards required for stability. The day progresses with these tasks, each one reinforcing my role in this system. My actions define my presence here, a constant flow of maintenance and repair. The environment around me is active but manageable. Its challenges familiar yet persistent. Each checklist item completed marks another step forward in sustaining the operation's functionality. As evening approaches, I finalize today's log entries, noting any discrepancies or upcoming requirements for tomorrow. The routine is comforting in its predictability, a series of tasks that demand attention and execution without question. My existence here hinges on these duties, each one contributing to the stability of this operational framework. The constant hum of the distant jungle fills my ears. Eton's a steady background noise, an ever-present reminder of the alien world around me. As I complete one task after another, the sound remains consistent, weaving through the layers of my routine. I check the air pressure in the suit and note the humidity levels. The air feels thick as usual, but it does not distract from my work. My hands move deftly over the equipment, adjusting valves and tightening bolts. Each click and hiss merges into the familiar rhythm of maintenance. The jungle hum continues, a low murmur that seems to blend with the mechanical sounds of my tools. Eton's there without intruding, a constant presence that I barely notice now. As I move from one station to another, the noise remains steady, its pitch unchanging. I replace a faulty sensor module and verify readings on the console. The jungle hum is still audible, but seems quieter than before. My mind focuses on the tasks at hand, absorbing the background sounds without registering them as distinct elements. The air feels slightly warmer today, but it owns a familiar warmth that does not demand my attention. I complete a calibration check and move to the next station. The jungle hum continues, now barely noticeable beneath the surface of my awareness. I tighten a loose connection on a pipe and wipe away condensation from a sensor screen. My movements are automatic, guided by habit more than conscious thought. The jungle hum is still there, but it has faded into a faint whisper that does not require acknowledgement. The air pressure remains stable as I proceed with the day's checklist. Each action is precise, each sound blending seamlessly into the background. The jungle hum fades further, becoming part of the fabric of my work rather than an interruption. My focus sharpens on the next task, and the constant noise seems to disappear completely. Eton's there, but it no longer registers as a separate sensation. My routine continues without pause, each step flowing naturally into the next. I complete another maintenance cycle and move on to the next station. The jungle hum is now just a distant echo, barely perceptible beneath the surface of my awareness. My work remains uninterrupted, the background noise fading further with each passing moment. I move through the facility with a practiced rhythm, my steps synchronized with those around me. The hum of machinery and the distant sounds of the jungle blend together, creating a constant backdrop against which our work unfolds. Each task is part of a larger sequence that requires precise timing and coordination. The leaking valve from earlier has been addressed, its repair a collective effort that now seems seamless. As I approach my next station, others move into position without need for words or signals. We work in tandem, each person's actions complementing the next, forming a fluid assembly line of maintenance tasks. There is no sense of individuality. We are units within a larger system, interchangeable yet interconnected. The motion and timing become more important than any personal identity. The jungle presses close, its vibrant life a stark contrast to our regimented routine. But it fades into the background as we focus on the work at hand. We move in shifts, maintaining equipment that sustains the facility's functionality. Each repair is a link in an unbroken chain of operations that stretches back and forward through time. The predictability of these tasks provides a sense of security and continuity. We pass tools and materials with a practiced ease, our movements choreographed by necessity rather than camaraderie. There are no conversations or gestures beyond the essential exchanges required for our work to proceed smoothly. We exist in this space as components of a machine, driven solely by the imperative to keep it running. As I finish one task and move on to another, my awareness shifts from individual focus to collective action. The rhythm continues unabated, each person's role seamlessly blending into the next. There is no sense of personal accomplishment or failure. Our contributions are measured in the seamless operation of the system as a whole. This environment demands precision and reliability above all else. The jungle hum remains distant, yet ever present, its sounds merging with the mechanical noise to create an ambient backdrop that neither distracts nor comforts. It's simply Isa, a constant reminder of the world beyond, but not within our immediate focus. Our work persists without pause or interruption, each person's contribution a small part of a larger, unyielding process. The edges between us blur into this shared labor, and I am at ease within its rhythm, my role defined solely by the tasks that need to be done. The mechanical hum of the machinery blends seamlessly with the distant jungle sounds, creating a steady backdrop that feels both comforting and unremarkable. My hands move methodically as I tighten bolts on the exposed piping, ensuring each connection is secure. The air conditioner maintains a consistent rhythm, its cool breath a familiar presence against my skin. The leaking valve requires attention once more, but it's a task I've done countless times before. With practiced ease, I replace the worn gasket and reassemble the mechanism. Each step feels automatic, guided by muscle memory rather than conscious decision-making. The jungle outside remains vibrant yet distant, its life pulsing in rhythms that have no bearing on my routine tasks. I move to check the pressure readings, confirming they remain within acceptable parameters. The digital screens display a series of green indicators, reassuring me that everything is functioning as it should. My focus narrows to these details, finding solace in their predictability and order. There is no need for introspection or doubt. Each action serves a clear purpose. As I complete the final checks, my hands linger on the control panel, ensuring all systems are stable before moving on to the next task. The jungle sounds fade further into insignificance, leaving only the mechanical hum of the facility as my constant companion. My movements transition smoothly from one routine activity to another, each step a continuation of the previous. The work feels both temporary and acceptable, serving its immediate purpose without any need for deeper contemplation. There is no sense of permanence or legacy here, just a steady rhythm of maintenance and stability. As I begin to recalibrate the sensors, my mind remains anchored in this present moment, finding comfort in the ongoing tasks that define my existence. As I proceed with the maintenance tasks, each action feels like an essential component in the larger machine. The strictness and impersonality of my routine are operational necessities, not arbitrary constraints. Rules exist not as dictates, but as responses to conditions that must be managed for safety and efficiency. The leaking valve is a minor issue that needs immediate attention to maintain stability. Without addressing it promptly, the risk of greater damage increases exponentially. It's a matter of minimizing potential harm rather than punishing myself or others. The environment here can be unforgiving. Without stringent adherence to protocols, operational disruptions could cascade into more significant problems. Each task is a part of a larger system that ensures everything functions as intended. The mechanical hum and repetitive nature of the work provide a comforting backdrop, reinforcing the routine's importance. These actions are not about personal satisfaction or individuality, but about ensuring the continuity of operations. There is no room for emotional distraction. Each step must be executed with precision to prevent any unforeseen consequences. The jungle law's vibrant life is ever present yet distant, treated as an operational variable rather than a source of wonder or concern. The environmental risks are managed through meticulous planning and execution. Any deviation from established procedures can introduce unnecessary variables that complicate the system's stability. I move methodically, driven by necessity rather than personal ambition. There is no space for doubt or reflection here. Each action is justified solely by its contribution to maintaining order and functionality. The strictness of my routine ensures predictability, which in turn fosters a sense of security and control. This works because it has to. The throughput of the extraction facility is a constant hum, an unyielding rhythm that defines our existence here. Each day we process thousands of tons of ore, and every ton contributes to the efficiency metrics we track meticulously. The rates at which we extract are not just numbers on screen saw. They represent the stability of our operations and the security of our supply chains. The environment is a variable in this system, fluctuating with the seasons and weather patterns. We monitor these changes closely, adjusting our extraction schedules to optimize resource yield while minimizing risk. Loss margins are minimized through rigorous quality control processes. Each deviation from standard protocols triggers immediate recalibration to maintain operational integrity. Each unit of ore extracted is not a fragment of nature, but a data point in a vast matrix that sustains the system we belong to. The conversion of raw materials into usable resources is a seamless process, governed by strict adherence to protocol and efficiency targets. There is no room for emotional attachment. Each step is a necessary function within an intricate network. Discomfort arises only when metrics deviate from expected norms. When this happens, corrective measures are swiftly implemented to restore balance. The abstraction of living things into quantities, rates, or tolerances ensures that decisions feel clean and calculated rather than emotionally laden. This is how we maintain stability amidst the unpredictable variables of our environment. The planet itself becomes a system of inputs and outputs, its terrain nothing more than operational territory to navigate with precision. Our role here is not to conquer, but to manage, ensuring that extraction remains sustainable and efficient. The rigidity of protocol provides a comforting framework, reinforcing the necessity of predictability in an otherwise chaotic world. In this structure, there is no room for inefficiency or emotional distraction. Every task is part of a larger machine, contributing to the collective goal with unwavering focus. Each unit processed is another step toward maintaining balance and ensuring continuity. The rhythmic hum of machinery fills the air, a constant reminder of the relentless cycle that sustains us. Each day blends seamlessly into the next, marked by the predictable repetition of tasks and routines. The environment around me is neither friend nor foe. It is simply terrain to navigate, resources to harness. Today, as I step outside the station's protective barrier, the world feels slightly more oppressive than usual. The atmosphere presses against my suit with a noticeable weight, an indication that our operations are pushing deeper into uncharted territory. Yet this pressure is not unwelcome. It signifies progress, confirming that we're making headway in our mission. The landscape stretches out before me, vast and indifferent. Eton's a place of stark contrasts, towering mountains shrouded in mist, dense forests teeming with life, and sprawling plains awaiting exploitation. Each feature is assessed purely for its utility. The mountains hold minerals vital to our efforts. The forests provide raw materials for construction. The plains offer room for expansion. My sensors relay data in real time, interpreting every detail, as a metric of efficiency. The air's composition fluctuates subtly, reflecting changes in atmospheric pressure and temperature. These variations are noted with clinical detachment. Each shift is logged, analyzed, and used to refine our approach. As I move through the terrain, my body adapts to the strain. Each step requires more effort. Each breath comes a little harder. But this physical exertion is not discomfort. It turns information. The feedback loop between my physiology and the environment confirms that we are operating at optimal capacity, pushing boundaries with calculated precision. The days grow longer, filled with increasingly demanding tasks. My schedule tightens, leaving no room for deviation or distraction. Every moment is dedicated to maintaining our momentum. The rigidity of this routine offers a peculiar sense of comfort. It turns the assurance that everything functions as intended. Sleep is brief and shallow, a necessary respite rather than an indulgence. Dreams are rare, fleeting fragments of subconscious thoughts quickly discarded upon waking. In this world, there is no room for nostalgia or longing, only the here and now, with each passing moment reinforcing our purpose. The strain intensifies, but it is not a source of alarm. It is a confirmation that we are advancing. The environment pushes back harder, testing our resilience. Yet every challenge is met with methodical determination, resolved through meticulous planning and execution. In this relentless cycle, there is no room for sentimentality. Each task completed adds to the collective progress, ensuring stability amidst uncertainty. This structured existence offers a framework of security, anchoring us firmly in reality. The world around me may be harsh, but it is also essential. Its challenges are ours to overcome, its resources ours to harness. This operational rhythm is my anchor, providing clarity and purpose. Each day's exertion confirms our mission's necessity. In this rigid system, there is no room for doubt or hesitation, only the unyielding drive forward. As I move through another day of routine maintenance, my thoughts naturally drift to the tasks ahead. It turns a familiar rhythm now, each step a continuation of the last. Yet, for just an instant, a fleeting sense of hesitation creeps in on, perhaps a minor discomfort with the monotony or a brief questioning of why this must be done again today. But such hesitations are not part of the system we've built within myself. They do not fit. With a mental nudge, I realign my focus. The protocols exist for reasons that have been clearly established: efficiency, safety, and stability. Deviating from them introduces unnecessary risk. This is not about personal preference, but operational necessity. There is no room for such vagaries in the system. IAV constructed to ensure everything runs smoothly. The correction feels like a natural adjustment, an affirmation of my commitment to the function at hand. It turns a momentary realignment, confirming that every aspect of this environment serves a purpose. The hesitation was merely a brief interruption, now cleared away by the clarity of my internal framework. Moving forward with renewed focus, I understand that such adjustments are part of maintaining operational integrity. The planet around me remains indifferent to these mental shifts, but it dawns clear that staying on track is crucial for everything else to function as intended. This momentary correction feels like a necessary act of maturity, not fear or obedience, simply the responsible continuation of what must be done. The routine continues without interruption. Each day blends into the next, marked only by the progression of tasks and their successful completion. There is no room for doubt or questioning. Every action serves a purpose that is clear and unambiguous. The environment around me is indifferent, providing neither comfort nor resistance, merely terrain to navigate with precision. The monotony, once a source of minor frustration, now feels like an ally in maintaining focus. Each repetition strengthens the resolve to adhere strictly to protocols. Any deviation, Even a fleeting thought of another path triggers an immediate realignment. The rigidity of the system is not oppressive but necessary. It ensures consistency and reliability. Emotions are irrelevant, distractions to be dismissed without hesitation. The physical strain is data, valuable information about limits and capacities. It informs adjustments in technique rather than indicating pain or discomfort. Sleep remains minimal, a brief respite from the relentless cycle of operations. Each morning brings renewed clarity, a sharpened sense of purpose. The monotony, far from being a burden, provides a stable framework for efficiency. The challenges are embraced as opportunities to demonstrate resilience and adaptability. They confirm progress rather than pose obstacles. There is no room for nostalgia or longing. The past is irrelevant except insofar as it informs current strategies. The future holds only more tasks, each one contributing to the larger objective with unwavering precision. This system, while not ideal, functions. It is practical and effective, ensuring continuity without unnecessary complications. Deviations introduce risk, disrupting the delicate balance of operations. The strict adherence to protocol eliminates these risks, maintaining stability and efficiency. There is no need for justification beyond its necessity. Correctness is its own reward. The routine settles into a quiet rhythm, each task completed with meticulous care. There are no grand gestures or heroic deeds, only consistent performance. This approach feels settled, not relieved by a sense of order that replaces uncertainty. The logic resolves all friction, moral questions dissolve into correctness. The day ends without fanfare, simply another successful cycle in the unending flow of operations. As I begin my routine check of the systems today, a slight irregularity catches my attention. The diagnostic readouts show a marginal increase in power consumption for the environmental controls, indicating a small deviation from baseline efficiency. Adjusting parameters to account for this variance takes an extra moment as the system recalibrates itself. The air conditioning units respond sluggishly, a minor delay that prompts me to confirm their operational status manually through additional diagnostics. The feedback loop seems slightly elongated, requiring more frequent interventions to maintain stability. Despite these adjustments, the environment remains within acceptable parameters, though not as effortlessly as before. Moving on to my daily maintenance tasks, I notice a similar pattern of slight inefficiencies. The recycling systems exhibit a minor dip in throughput, necessitating closer monitoring and manual fine-tuning to ensure optimal performance. Each adjustment feels like an additional step rather than a seamless process. The soil nutrient analysis shows slight variations, prompting me to recalibrate the nutrient distribution to compensate for these fluctuations. The environmental conditions seem to be subtly shifting, introducing minor inconsistencies that need attention but do not yet threaten stability. During my routine physical training session, I register increased resistance in the air resistance system, requiring more effort to achieve the same level of exertion. This deviation from expected performance feels like an extra layer of work, though it still aligns with necessary standards for health and resilience. As I conclude my day's tasks, each procedure takes a bit longer than usual due to these minor adjustments. The environmental feedback is no longer as readily predictable, demanding more frequent checks and corrections to maintain the system's integrity. Despite this, everything remains within operational limits, though the effort required feels incrementally higher. The familiar processes still function but now require extra attention and effort to ensure continued stability. The environment's subtle shifts introduce a layer of complexity that must be managed proactively rather than corrected reactively. These minor inefficiencies are a reminder that maintaining equilibrium demands greater vigilance. Yet, this adjustment is necessary for sustained functionality. I spend another day running diagnostics and adjusting parameters. The numbers on my screens indicate near-perfect efficiency across all systems. Our resource allocation is optimal. Energy levels are stable, waste management within acceptable limits. Yet, as I move through the physical environment, inconsistencies nag at me. The air feels heavier than it should based on the humidity readings. My sensors confirm no significant change in moisture content, but my skin prickles with an unexplained sensation of dampness. The same applies to temperature. My gauges report steady conditions, yet there's a persistent chill that isn't accounted for by any current model. I consult the latest environmental projections and compare them against real-time data from various sensors embedded throughout the habitat. They align perfectly on paper. Predicted outcomes match observed results with no deviation. Yet, when I step outside to verify these readings firsthand, the physical world feels off balance. The flora appears slightly discolored, a subtle shift that shouldn't register in my usual visual scans, but now catches my attention. Leaves are a shade greener than expected, and some plants seem unusually vibrant or wilted based on factors not captured by current environmental models. I adjust settings to account for this new data point, yet the discrepancy persists. I review recent reports detailing system performance over the last few weeks. Everything appears normal. No spikes in energy usage, no anomalies in resource distribution. My mind works diligently through each variable, trying to reconcile these subtle differences with established patterns and expected outcomes. Yet, as I delve deeper into the data, a growing sense of unease settles within me. The physical presence of things seems to defy my rational understanding. A plant that should be thriving based on its current environment appears stressed and unhealthy. Conversely, another area predicted to suffer from resource scarcity is flourishing beyond expectations. My models explain these variations with minor tweaks and adjustments, but the underlying mismatch remains palpable. I can't shake the feeling that my maps no longer match the ground beneath my feet. The world outside seems to have its own rhythms and behaviors that are not fully encapsulated in the data I rely on daily. This realization is unsettling, yet I remind myself to stay vigilant and pragmatic. Adjustments will be necessary, but perhaps it's time to consider a broader perspective on that accounts for these subtle yet significant inconsistencies. As night falls, I return to my quarters and review the day's observations once more. The data remains consistent with expectations, yet the physical reality feels increasingly disjointed from my mental constructs. This disconnect is disconcerting, but I push through it, knowing that maintaining stability requires a delicate balance between abstraction and direct experience. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, and I'll need to stay alert and adaptable. For now, I rest, reflecting on this day's anomalies without finding clear resolution. The sensors hum quietly, their rhythm slightly off-kilter today. I focus intently on the data feed, searching for any hint of misalignment that could explain this persistent echo in my perception. The environment is still as it always has been now, predictable and manageable. But there's an undercurrent now, a faint tremor that doesn't register as a malfunction, but rather as a dissonance. I recalibrate the sensors yet again, hoping to fine-tune their precision. But the anomaly persists. It's not severe enough to demand immediate action, but it lingers like a shadow in the corner of my vision. I can almost feel the data straining against its models, struggling to fit into the neat framework that has served us so well for so long. The air feels different too. There is an odd texture to it, as if the molecules themselves have shifted ever so slightly out of place. It's not cold or hot. It just is not quite right. I breathe deeply, trying to steady myself, but even my breath seems distorted by this subtle disturbance. The sound of my breathing echoes faintly in my ears, a reminder that something is amiss. I move through the routine tasks with an increased sense of alertness, checking and rechecking every parameter, every input. Yet no matter how closely I scrutinize, there's always that nagging inconsistency, like a whisper that refuses to be silenced. Eton's not overwhelming, but it's persistent enough to break my concentration repeatedly. I try to push these thoughts aside, focusing instead on the practical steps at hand. But even as I work, the sensation remains, a background hum that intrudes on my mental processes. Eton's frustrating because there's no clear solution, only this persistent discomfort that gnaws at the edges of my rational understanding. The environment asserts itself in subtle ways, challenging my reliance on data-driven certainty. The body absorbs these discrepancies, translating them into physical sensations that are difficult to ignore. I feel it in the tension building in my shoulders and the occasional fluttering in my chest. These aren't signs of danger, but rather a growing sense of disconnection from the world around me. Despite this, there's still a determination within me to maintain control. The system remains stable, but it requires more vigilance than ever before. I continue making adjustments, hoping that each one will bring clarity and resolution, even as I recognize that these small inconsistencies are becoming increasingly ingrained in my perception. The hum of the sensors continues, a constant reminder of this unresolved presence. Eton's not something to fear or react to with alarm, but it does demand attention and adaptation. As I work through the tasks, I find myself pausing more frequently, taking time to recalibrate both my physical senses and my mental models. The effort is relentless, yet the result remains elusive. This persistent echo in my perception is a challenge that tests the limits of my system's adaptability. Eton's not breaking down, Eton's evolving, pushing me to acknowledge and address these subtle but significant inconsistencies. Despite the discomfort, there's an underlying sense of resilience as I continue to navigate this new reality. Everything still aligns within acceptable parameters, but the need for constant recalibration feels more pronounced. I've been running diagnostics and fine-tuning configurations, yet minor inconsistencies persist. The sensors indicate one thing, while my physical senses register a slight lag or a soft dissonance that doesn't quite fit into the established framework. It's unsettling, almost like there are an unseen force subtly altering the landscape of reality around me. Yet, I know this is not possible. My systems are impeccable, and my environment should be fully predictable based on the data I have access to. So I adjust again, recalibrate once more, but it doesn't resolve everything. I feel a creeping sense that I need to restate the basics just to keep them in place. The logic is the raw data input, system response, environmental outputting, but now it feels like each step requires an extra layer of scrutiny and affirmation. It taunts as if the rational explanation needs to be repeated internally to hold true. I reassure myself, everything is fine. My systems are functioning perfectly. Yet, why do I feel compelled to validate this over and over? The inconsistencies nag at me, but my adherence to established models remains unwavering. This is not about Dao-Ta. Eton's about maintaining stability through repetition and vigilance. The disconnection grows faintly more pronounced with each iteration of checks and adjustments. It's like trying to hold a delicate balance between two realities, one tangible and the other abstracted by data Taoist. My senses tell me there is a shift, but my systems say it shouldn't be possible. I cannot let this unsettle me. I must remain vigilant and proactive. So, I run another diagnostic, reaffirming the integrity of each component. The logic holds data matches expectations and yet the nagging sensation persists. It taunts as if there's a subtle pressure building beneath the surface, something just outside my current understanding. But for now, I have to trust that my systems are correct and continue to verify through repetition. This is not about fear or uncertainty. Eton's about reinforcing what is known against an emerging anomaly. The inconsistencies demand attention, but don't warrant alarm. I must stay focused and committed to the established framework, while acknowledging the need for deeper investigation without losing sight of stability. Everything still aligns, yet it feels like a fragile equilibrium that requires constant reinforcement. The day begins as usual, with the familiar routine of system checks and environmental assessments. Each sensor reads perfectly within parameters. Each projection aligns meticulously with expected outcomes. Yet a nagging sensation persists, a subtle dissonance that lingers at the edges of perception. I run diagnostics again, reviewing every detail, cross-referencing data points meticulously. The systems hum in perfect synchrony. No fault codes, no warnings. Still, there's this pervasive feeling that something is off, an inconsistency that defies immediate resolution. Physical sensations seem to contradict sensor readings at times. Slight chill when the temperature display shows a comfortable level, or a momentary pressure change where no environmental shifts should occur. These anomalies are minor but persistent, requiring constant vigilance and revalidation. I adjust settings, recalibrate sensors, and even perform manual checks in some critical areas. Each adjustment brings temporary relief, yet the underlying unease remains. The effort to maintain stability grows incrementally, demanding more of my attention than before. Despite this, I remain resolute, driven by a sense of responsibility to uphold the system's integrity. The disconnection between sensory input and expected outcomes is unsettling, challenging my reliance on precise models and data-driven understanding. Yet, there's an underlying determination to adapt and maintain control, acknowledging the evolving nature of our situation without losing focus. The environment seems stable for now, but it requires constant supervision. This condition feels like a fragile equilibrium maintained through effort rather than inherent stability. Nothing is breaking yet, but nothing rests anymore. The system holds, but only when watched closely, with an ever-present awareness of the need to stay vigilant and adaptable. The persistent anomalies I've been tracking begin to manifest in concrete ways. Sensor readings indicate a gradual decline in the structural integrity of certain areas, but my systems still report optimal conditions. This discrepancy is unsettling, as it means that despite perfect efficiency and adherence to models, there are tangible signs of degradation. In one particularly affected sector, vegetation starts wilting inexplicably. The air quality monitors show no abnormalities, yet the plants exhibit signs of stress and decay. I allocate resources for immediate remediation, but find that even with optimized treatments, the issue persists. The disconnection between my data-driven predictions and observable reality grows clearer. Another area shows a subtle shift in temperature patterns, deviating from projected norms. While my system suggests stable conditions should prevail, localized heat signatures appear intermittently. These fluctuations are minor, yet consistent enough to warrant concern. I increase monitoring frequency, but find no immediate cause for the anomalies through conventional diagnostics. The cumulative effect of these irregularities becomes evident as I notice a gradual thinning of the protective ozone layer above certain regions. Despite efforts to reinforce and repair, there's an underlying instability that resists correction. This layer acts as a critical barrier against harmful radiation, and its weakening poses a significant operational risk. In response, I implement additional protocols to stabilize the affected zones. However, the results are inconsistent, with some areas showing temporary improvement, while others continue to degrade. The disconnection between sensor data and physical reality grows more pronounced, complicating my ability to address these issues effectively. I allocate further resources and personnel to investigate deeper into the anomalies, but find no clear explanations through standard methodologies. This realization prompts a shift in strategy. I must adapt to this evolving unpredictability while maintaining operational stability. The unease persists, as does the necessity for vigilance and continuous adaptation to manage the emerging discrepancies. I review the latest sensor logs, and recalibrate the diagnostic tools to catch any subtle anomalies that might have been missed. The air in the control room buzzes with the hum of machinery, a constant reminder of the systems I must oversee. Each screen displays data points converging and diverging from expected norm saw pattern that has become increasingly erratic. I initiate another series of tests on the primary reactor core. The sequence is familiar, yet each run feels like an experiment rather than routine maintenance. The console acknowledges my commands with a reassuring beep, but the results are anything but consistent. Fluctuations in power output and heat signatures suggest underlying issues that defy immediate resolution. I adjust parameters, tweak settings, and rerun diagnostics, hoping for clarity. Meanwhile, external checks on structural integrity reveal further signs of wear. Cracks and fissures appear along support beams, indicating stress beyond normal operational limits. The materials are supposed to be resilient, but the data doesn't lie. Repair teams are dispatched with new protocols aimed at reinforcing weakened areas, yet the scale of required intervention grows larger each day. I allocate resources according to priority lists that seem to shift hourly. Automated systems handle much of this now, their efficiency a stark contrast to the manual efforts needed in earlier phases. But even these tools require constant monitoring and adjustment. I spend hours cross-referencing reports from different sectors, identifying overlaps and redundancies that could be streamlined. The day stretches into night with no sign of respite. Sleep is elusive. My mind replays every step taken and outcome observed. Yet, the next morning brings renewed focus on tasks at hand. Another round of tests, another set of repairs, another cycle of recalibration. Each action feels like a deliberate step to manage what cannot be controlled. The pattern persists without fanfare or breakthroughs. There is no grand declaration of victory over challenges faced, only the relentless pursuit of stability through incremental adjustments and ongoing vigilance. The world outside remains indifferent, nature reacting mechanically to changes I impose upon it. My role continues to evolve from problem solver to overseer, ensuring that each day's demands are met despite accumulating evidence of deeper instability. I am aware of the strain this imposes, but there is no questioning why or how we arrived here. There is only the immediate need to keep functioning as best I can under these conditions. The data scrolls across the screen in a relentless stream of metrics and alerts. Each number and symbol represents another layer of complexity, yet none provide the clarity I seek. The systems report optimal conditions, but reality diverges sharply from these projections. Debris clutters the corridors, and the air reeks of malfunctioning circuits and overheating machinery. These are not anomalies. They are indicators of a systemic failure that no algorithm can reconcile. I adjust parameters and recalibrate subsystems, attempting to nudge the entire structure back toward stability. Every tweak is recorded, every change monitored, yet the underlying issues persist with an unsettling consistency. It sounds as if the systems themselves have grown brittle, incapable of sustaining even minor deviations from their ideal states. The cumulative effect is a pervasive sense of vulnerability, each component failure adding another layer to the fragile edifice. Fatigue gnaws at me, but there is no respite in sight. Sleep seems like an indulgence I cannot afford. Each moment spent resting is a moment lost to potential degradation, so I persist, driven by a mix of duty and resignation. The systems continue to process data, generating reports that highlight discrepancies without offering solutions. They are indifferent to the mounting pressures, focusing instead on maintaining a facade of normalcy through incremental adjustments. Recognition dawns incrementally, without fanfare or emotional charge. It is simply a matter of acknowledging what must be acknowledged. Despite my efforts, the situation deteriorates steadily. The systems absorb any individual input, blending it into the larger fabric of operations where individual agency dissipates like ink in water. There are no heroes here, only operators tasked with managing an ever-shifting landscape. The corridors stretch endlessly around me, each step echoing through empty spaces. Signs of wear and tear become more pronounced as grime accumulates on surfaces that once gleamed under the artificial light. I move with a practiced precision, addressing each issue as it arises, but the underlying instability remains unaltered. The recognition is stark and clear. My actions, while necessary, are insufficient to alter the course of events. This awareness does not prompt despair or defiance. It merely informs my approach. There is no room for self-blame or accusation, only acceptance that I am a part of this intricate web, influencing it through procedural tasks rather than grand gestures. Each decision and adjustment serves as another data point in an endless cycle of maintenance and monitoring. The systems continue to hum, their mechanical rhythms masking the underlying chaos. Despite my vigilance, there is no escape from the reality unfolding before me. The structures sag under invisible strains, yet I remain within the bounds set by those same systems, adapting as best I can to a world where control has eroded into mere management of consequence. The data streams continue to flicker, each update a subtle reminder of the persistent anomalies. The algorithms are designed to identify patterns and predict outcomes, yet the reality on the ground remains stubbornly unpredictable. Adjustments are made, protocols revised, but the system's response is inconsistent at best. The cycle of action and reaction feels endless, a mechanical dance that neither resolves nor exacerbates the core issues. The fatigue is relentless, a constant weight dragging against every decision. Each day brings new challenges. Each solution seems to introduce another layer of complexity. There is no clear path forward, only a series of incremental steps that must be taken to maintain operational viability. The systems demand continuous attention, their feedback loops reinforcing the necessity of ongoing engagement. Despite the growing sense of futility, there is an unshakable duty to continue. The protocols are rigid and unwavering, guiding actions without room for deviation. Every adjustment, every recalibration, feels like a holding pattern rather than a solution. Yet there is no alternative but to press on, adhering strictly to the prescribed procedures. The environment itself mirrors this state of flux. Structures show signs of wear. Systems falter intermittently, yet they remain operational, sustained by constant intervention. This structural resilience is both a blessing and a curse. While it allows for continued function, it also prolongs the unresolved nature of the core issue. The system's favoring continuation over correction means that any attempt to address deeper problems risks destabilizing what precarious balance has been maintained. The procedural incentives are clear: stability through adherence to established protocols. Any deviation, even in pursuit of fundamental changes, introduces too many variables and uncertainties. Incremental adjustments become the default mechanism for managing decline, a way to keep moving forward without facing the complexities of systemic overhaul. This approach ensures that while no significant progress is made, neither does the system fully collapse. The environment's decay reflects this dynamic tension. Each sign of deterioration acknowledged yet managed through immediate responses rather than comprehensive solutions. The cycles repeat, feedback loops reinforcing ongoing action. There is an underlying acceptance of this pattern, a resigned recognition that continuation aligns with the structural favoring of stability over transformation. The systems continue to hum, a steady but monotonous rhythm that has become both familiar and oppressive. Each day, I make my rounds, checking sensors, recalibrating equipment, and running diagnostics. The data streams in, a ceaseless torrent of numbers and graphs, most of which offer little comfort or clarity. There are anomalies everywhere: unexpected readings, inconsistent performance, and outright failures that require immediate attention. I spend hours tracing the origins of these issues, trying to isolate variables and identify patterns. But every solution I implement is fleeting at best. The problems resurface shortly after with renewed vigor. It taunts, as if the system itself has developed an immunity to my interventions, adapting in ways that are unpredictable and often counterintuitive. The physical environment reflects this decay. Structures show signs of wear, cracks appear where they had not before, and even the once pristine surfaces now bear traces of neglect. The air is thick with a pervasive sense of entropia. Things degrade not because of neglect, but despite efforts to maintain them. Eton's exhausting, knowing that my laborious work offers little more than temporary relief. There are moments when I pause, simply observing, trying to process the sheer enormity of what I face. But there is no time for reflection or contemplation. Each new day brings its own set of challenges and demands. The fatigue is relentless, a constant weight that drags me down, but also propels me forward with a sense of grim determination. I've learned to accept this reality without resistance. Eton's, not resignation in the traditional sense, no room for such luxuries here, but rather an acknowledgement of what is and must be managed. The environment has adapted, as have I. Each failure, each repair, each recalibration becomes part of a new baseline or norm that includes loss and instability. The systems continue to function, though with diminished reliability. There are days when everything seems to hold together by sheer force of will, and nights when the quiet hum turns into an ominous silence that creeps in like a thief. But I remain vigilant, my actions small but consistent, a counterpoint to the relentless decay around me. This is how things are Nuna, a constant battle against entropy, fought with limited tools and diminishing returns. Each day, each moment, carries its own weight of expectation and failure, but there are no space for hope or despair. There is only this, the task at hand, the system that needs tending, and the knowledge that tomorrow will bring more of the same. I wake up each day to the same routines. The systems hum around me, their constant presence a backdrop of familiarity. I check the monitors first thing, noting the usual discrepancies between reported stability and observable degradation. Eton's a pattern nawa, data showing optimal conditions while reality tells a different story. My tasks begin with minor adjustments, tweaking parameters here and there to hold back the encroaching instability. Each change feels like a temporary fix rather than a solution, but adherence to protocols is non-negotiable. I move through my checklist methodically, aware that even small deviations can lead to larger problems. There is no room for error or deviation. The environment outside is altered terrain, but it does not feel threatening anymore. Ita is simply what exists now. The landscape is a testament to past extraction and reshaping, with nothing left to salvage or restore. I navigate the familiar paths between sectors, each step calculated to avoid areas of known failure. There are no surprises here. Everything operates within predictable limits. Communication with other units is limited and formal. We exchange necessary data without elaboration or emotional nuance. Each interaction reinforces the sense that our roles are defined by function rather than personal connection. Information flows one way. Updates on status, requests for adjustments, confirmations of compliance. There is no room for discussion or debate. Fatigue settles in quickly, a constant companion throughout the day. Despite exhaustion, I push through with mechanical precision. Each task completed is a small victory against entropy, but there are no grand achievements to celebrate. The work offers temporary relief from anxiety, a brief respite before the next challenge presents itself. As night falls, I review logs and prepare for the following cycle. There is an acceptance of what remains functional amidst ongoing failure and repair. Hope has faded into irrelevance. Despair is too heavy a burden to carry. Instead, there is a sense of duty to manage what can still be managed. The work continues without pause or purpose beyond continuation. I sleep briefly before starting the next cycle, knowing that tomorrow will bring more of the same. There are no turning points, no revelations, just an unbroken sequence of days marked by minor adjustments and constant vigilance. This is life noir, routine after consequence, procedural compliance in a world settled into its results. I wake up in the same sterile room each day. The routine is set. Check vitals, take medication, eat breakfast. Each action follows without thought or resistance. There is a small monitor on the wall that displays today's schedule, a series of tasks and reminders in a dull font. First task is to report for maintenance checks at the central hub. I walk through familiar corridors lined with doors leading to other rooms like mine. The lighting is constant, artificial, but sufficient. No one speaks as we pass each other. Nods are brief acknowledgments. At the hub, technicians scan me quickly. Heart rate, blood pressure, temperature. They note down readings on a tablet and wave me through to the next station without comment. I move to the hygiene center for a quick shower and change into fresh garments provided by the system. Next is inventory verification. In the supply room, rows of shelves hold standardized packages of supplies, each labeled meticulously. I scan items methodically, ensuring everything matches records. Any discrepancies are logged automatically. The work is precise, but tedious. Afterward, another technician reviews my findings briefly before sending me to the next assignment. Lunch consists of a prepackaged meal with no variation. Eating takes place in isolation. Post-meal, I head to the training area for routine drills and simulations. Today's exercise involves navigating an altered terrain map on a digital platform. The tasks are repetitive: avoid hazards, locate waypoints, report back. Success is measured by adherence to protocol rather than personal effort. Evening comes with another round of maintenance checks and updates. This time, there is minor firmware adjustment needed in my neural interface. I sit still while technicians work around me, inserting new data streams into my system. The process feels invasive, but necessary. Back at my quarters, the day ends with a review of performance metrics from earlier tasks. No surprises, just confirmation that everything aligns as expected. Tomorrow will bring another cycle of these same activities. Sleep comes easily, body and mind prepared for repetition anew. The light flickers overhead, casting a humdrum glow over the workstation. My fingers move across the keyboard with practiced ease, executing commands that are as familiar as breathing. Data streams in, parsed, analyzed, and dispatched out. Each cycle, a small drumbeat of existence. A notification pings quietly beside me, alerting me to another minor update required somewhere else in the network. I acknowledge it without thought and proceed to the next task on my list. The routine is unchanging. Check, respond, adjust. Each action a cog turning smoothly within the machine's gears. The air smells faintly of ozone and synthetic materials, a constant reminder of where I am. My eyes scan the readouts before me, noting deviations, but finding them manageable. There are no surprises today, only slight variances that demand attention, but do not disrupt. A colleague passes by in the narrow corridor outside my station, their presence noted briefly, but without acknowledgement. Our interactions are sparse and utilitarian, words exchanged only when necessary, faces seen, but not truly noticed. We move like clockwork parts, each performing our roles with an unspoken precision. Fatigue nips at the edges of my consciousness, a persistent whisper urging rest. But there is no respite Iranad until all immediate concerns are addressed. So I soldier on, one keystroke after another, maintaining the balance that keeps this fragment of the world functioning. The tasks complete themselves with a quiet satisfaction, a sense of order maintained against entropy's relentless push. And as night bleeds into day and day fades back to night, once more, my mind settles into its groove, content in the knowledge that here, at least, is stability amidst chaos. I wake to the same sequence of alarms, each chime a signal to begin another cycle. The routine is set in stone, every action predictable and expected. I move through my morning preparations with practiced ease, each step a familiar path trodden countless times before. There is no urgency, only the steady beat of necessity. The day unfolds as it always does. Tasks are assigned, completed, then logged meticulously. Each interaction with others is brief and to the point, devoid of unnecessary words or gestures. The work continues without interruption, a seamless flow of activity that fills the hours until nightfall. Fatigue settles in gradually, but I push through, driven by an unspoken sense of duty. Small victories are marked internally and each task completed on time, each error avoided. These moments offer fleeting reassurance, affirming my continued functionality within this structured existence. The environment remains unchanged, its sterility a constant backdrop to the daily grind. Familiarity breeds comfort here, yet there is an underlying sense of emptiness that refuses to be ignored entirely. Yet, I find myself less inclined to dwell on it. Instead, I focus on the procedural mechanics, allowing them to fill any voids. In this space, loss has been supplanted by routine. The absence is compensated for through strict adherence to protocol and procedure. There is no room for reflection or sentimentality, only action and reaction. Comfort comes from the repetitive nature of tasks, rather than any deeper sense of purpose or fulfillment. As night descends, I retire to my quarters. The day's efforts concluded, but not forgotten. The cycle will repeat tomorrow, each new dawn bringing the same familiar routines. In this world where things still work, just differently, there is a quiet acceptance that sustains me. I continue my rounds with a measured pace, each step echoing in the quiet hallways. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting an unchanging glow on the familiar walls. Tasks await me at every turn, routine checks, minor repairs, data entry, and I approach them with practiced hands and precise movements. The monotony of the day blends seamlessly into the next, a continuous loop that requires no thought or effort beyond what is necessary. Interactions with others are brief and utilitarian. Nods and exchanges of information serve their purpose without lingering sentiment. Fatigue tugs at my edges but does not disrupt the flow. Each task completed offers a momentary sense of accomplishment, however small. The sterile environment feels both comforting and oppressive, a cocoon that shields from outside disturbances while enforcing its own brand of order. As I move through another checklist item, my mind drifts without purpose. There is no urgency to complete this moment or anticipate the next. It simply exists as part of an endless sequence. My hands continue their work, fingers moving over surfaces with mechanical certainty, and the day fades into evening seamlessly.